go. Uh, right. So what was I talking about yesterday? It was Euro Chef, I think. Yeah. So, Paul's what I'm gonna do for tonight's session is basically I'm gonna cover a little bit of structure and how we can use it for trying to find obviously the better setups, um, and then how we can possibly use it obviously to with which comes with the better setups is obviously predicting what's possibly coming next down to structure. So, and then so if I can spend 10, 15 minutes on that, obviously the setups will include obviously liquidities and sweeps things, the usual stuff that I cover every week. Um, but yeah, obviously the first focus will be around structure and obviously what we would expect to find or the possible outcomes of when it gets to these structure sort of pivot points, highs, lows. Um, yeah, so um, so we started looking at this obviously because I think it was you, Ronnie, who caught a buy from down here. Um,
Yeah, sort of.
yeah,
I'd marked it. I didn't take it.
right. That's unfortunate, mate. Um, yeah, it's very unfortunate. So, what I like? Well, obviously, I didn't have it, mate. I was unsure if it was this sort of area was done with from this buy that I had marked up here from a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, it's
Sorry,
come.
Lee, you keep saying like this area and stuff. Are we meant to be seeing your screen just now?
Yeah,
Have I got? Was it on
yeah.
a? Oh, I wonder if is it another window I haven't seen?
It says it's sharing, mate. I don't.
I
Oh,
can see
got it.
it.
Got it. Yep. Sorry. Got it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, we're all good.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Yeah, so obviously this structure breaking down here is I mean that's from 2.5 weeks ago now that that low was
Mhm.
created. And then obviously it's broken above a high here, which is obviously this is tapped into the previous high, mitigated the previous high, pulled back, and then obviously it's continued with its bullish structure until it's obviously broken the previous low uh, Wednesday. So obviously from Wednesday, obviously because it's taken a previous low, which is this low here. I'll just change that so you can see it. I've dull it so it don't get too much in my way. So obviously this high here takes this high to the left. Turn that color as well. Uh, turn all these back later. Yeah, so from here we can see it's downtrending. Obviously, to the left, it creates a liquidity. It's not the easiest to spot, but it's there, and this is the sweep. We get a break to the upside on the 15, which is happens here. So there's probably a trade in here somewhere, probably a form of liquidity line in here. Um, Probably to this little weak high here, but I can't get it to stick on. So, but this, as I often say, obviously that stuff happens at these points. So if I draw a level line from that point there, I'll turn it orange so you can see. So level line, this is obviously the 15-minute structure high. I'll cover obviously the structure rules and why that high and not anything else um, in a minute, but that's a high. Obviously, price, liquidity is created, sweep. We get a little break of structure under here, which will be this little, these little zigzags in here will be like what I would class as 1 minute because we're on the 15 at the minute. So the zigzags on the 15 minute, if you zoomed out, the zigzags are generally like what I would consider one, maybe the five, but they're generally about the same structure. Um, and obviously, if you zoom out, the overall sort of like direction becomes the structure. Um, but yeah, so these pivot points, obviously, this is taken this high here. Obviously, it gives a trend line, a sweep, and a possible mitigation here. Obviously, this little wick up there is probably the entry because obviously you get the because we've broken to the upside on this one. Obviously, the sell would be down from there. It comes down, mitigates something in this low that caused the previous high to be broken in because obviously this is bearish price action. We get a break here, we come back, mitigate some, and then we continue with bullish price action because we've had a bullish break to the upside, which is what this does here. Obviously, it's not a guarantee that this break to the upside is a guarantee. So let me say that again, just to be clear, because I'm mixing words up here. Just because this takes this high, it doesn't guarantee that this will be something down here will be mitigated. It could also still take the low again because what it does next, because this then continues to take this high, obviously that confirms this is the sort of valid structure at that point. So that's difficult to understand. I understand it's just the way it is. It could sweep both sides. It's just, but because it's taken the high, we are more likely that we are going to mitigate something and then continue the bullish structure after this point here, which is why obviously I've started drawing these structures on faintly. Obviously they're barely seeable at times, but I've started drawing them on. So when I post something, hopefully you guys can look at it and go, yes, I see. I'm starting to see it yourselves. You might, even if you can't draw it or figure it out yourselves, just me having it on my screen will hopefully sometimes help you. And then obviously you can take it away or take a screenshot and go, right, I'm going to draw the same points, maybe start breaking down and marking it to see if you can understand why I would mark it. Um, so that was obviously the pivot point of this whole point here. So this was the buy I was sort of like trying to catch the other week. It's continued its bullish price action for a couple of swings here, and then below this one here, because one of the only rules for structure is so this is the high because this becomes the next high, so that confirms this is the high and it confirms this is the low. So as we are bullish, one of the rules is like we know this is the at one point this was the live structure, so this was the low, this entry point here, the lowest point of it. I know it's not stuck on actual the lowest point, not there. It then obviously retakes the high again, so that was the live structure. So at that point, when this starts to pull back, what confirms that low? That low there is confirmed when price is then taken by this high. When price takes this high, so we how we find that as the low is we would basically say from when this high is created, because obviously it's taken the previous high as well. When it pulls back, we basically just say what is the lowest point after this. Let me just draw that as well. Draw that red. So what's the lowest point in price before the high, the red circle is taken again? So if I draw a line from that, obviously it's taken here, and this is the lowest price between that point there. So that becomes the official low once price breaks above this high. So that confirms that. And this this low is valid until obviously this high gets taken. Once it pulls back or whatever, it's obviously price could continue do its thing, but until that high is taken or this low is taken, this is the valid structure at that point. Because obviously from that point it could easily it could make that high, it could make this sort of low like it did, and then it could take the high. That would then obviously make this, once it took this high, it would make that the low, or this one just to the right, sorry. But obviously it comes, mitigates something low in here, doesn't take it, doesn't take the high again. So that makes all of this right there. Obviously it would include all that up there as well, but it's sort of irrelevant as such. That makes all these highs and lows in here internal and from a structure perspective irrelevant. It doesn't from a yeah, that's right. So from a structure perspective, it's irrelevant, but it's not irrelevant in the fact that we can possibly catch trades from it. So why will that delete? Yeah. So yeah, it's not irrelevant because obviously price has done something in here. Obviously, it's mitigated whatever that is. I don't even know why I marked it. I'm assuming it's because it's taken a possible low in here. I was unsure if this is a pullback and a new high. It could well be. Obviously, this took the high. It has pulled back. It has made a new high. So this might have been a 15-minute low. It very well could have been. I have got it. I have got it marked here as a possible structure. It's just one of them times where I look at price and go, I'm not sure. It sort of meets the rules for it took a high, it pulled back. This is the lowest price.
It's two distinct highs there.
Adam.
Two distinct highs, aren't there? So
Yeah. So
they're quite clearly separate
yeah,
highs.
this is why I've marked them both, mate. So it very
Yeah.
much could have been, and it's looking very much like it was because obviously, if we say that's the valid structure from that point, obviously that arrow would go to there, up from there, pull back, new high. This is possibly a mini structure or not. It don't really matter. But yeah, if that's the low, this is the order block that causes this low to be taken, which means obviously we can look for. I was looking for a trade from there. It just didn't come high enough. As I was looking at these two as entries, they should be green. Uh, and then obviously it's gone on to make a new low. These just turn that orange. 15 minute. Turn darker. So yeah, because obviously it's made a new low, it's made a new high, and we have on Friday afternoon, we broke the low again. I'm not really expecting this to be tagged now. It might well do. What I'd maybe be expecting now is so if the entry that Ronnie marked is the turn of the market, like I say, he might have caught the actual bottom of the overall swing move, uh, which I'll get into that in a minute on the 4 hour. But I'm just trying to focus on the 15 at the minute. If, say, Ronnie has caught the bottom of the market on this point, I'm sorry if it is, mate, and you might you might regret not taking that, I guess. But what we might,
I'm still just trading demo anyway, Lee, so it's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, a nice one. But if it, let's say if it is the bottom of the market, and obviously the 4 hour structure will possibly determine a part in this as well. But let's say if this is the bottom, obviously it's taken this low, so we could see a pullback from here anyway. The two options from here for me are we pull back somewhere in what all of this price action at the minute. I don't know where. We'll take a look shortly. But with this big push down, I'm assuming it's going to pull fairly deep into that, and then we might continue down. Obviously, we might come deeper still before the pullback as well. But that's one option. I'll turn that red. Was you going to say something, Matt?
No, sorry.
No, sorry. I see your
Oh,
name.
was I? Nah, it's not important. I was probably just muttering to myself.
Yeah, it's all fine. I see you. I heard a noise. I see your photo pop up, so I didn't know if you was.
Sorry, I don't know. Because my mic's turned on. That's all.
Yes, it's fine, mate. So yeah, that's one option, and then the next option is these entry zones I had marked up. It might mitigate them. That would then mean that the high of this one's taken. It's a breaker structure, which we might then see a pullback before we continue up. So there are possibilities, but that's if we're just focusing on the 15. So we'll jump on the 4 hour as well. So I think, I mean, this is a bit of a mess. So if you ignore this sort of section here for now, if we focus on like the bigger structure, so this is what I'd class as 4 hour. So up here, obviously it's trending downwards. We're making your high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. From this high, obviously the price from early March, early March is the 4 hour breaker structure. So obviously, because it's taken the high, it's pulling back into something. It's literally mitigated the lowest point in Timmy Magno. It's mitigated some at the very extreme of this wick low here, and that is just a new low. So it's just it takes this other low, so it takes low, causes a break to the upside, and then obviously price comes back, mitigates something, and we can possibly expect a new 4 hour high. So obviously that's a massive move. I don't think I'd hold it that far because it's probably a few hundred pips, I imagine. But because we have obviously the rules for the 4 hour are the same as the 15, so it's come back down, mitigated, so we might well see a new 4 hour high. So all I'm sort of maybe expecting now from this is what happens from here. So we're downtrending here. We've pulled back. Obviously, I'm looking at the mini 15s in here. There's a high here, so we are pulling back. No, sorry, we are. All right, start again. We're trending downwards. We make a new low. We trend upwards. We don't make a new high, so we are still, in my opinion, heading possibly down until what this tells us here. So what happens next, I consider to be very important because this has also mitigated something in this low at the minute. So we are possibly still looking for bearish structures, bullish structures, sorry. But wait, so what it does next is very important. I think if we take the high, we will effectively follow this. Turn that below so you can see it different. I think if we go from here and take this 15-minute high, we will pull back, look for another entry on the pullback or whatever, wait for 1 minute to break to the upside, get an entry. I think we then have the possibility that we will take this high. So, and that could be the one that starts the move to take us to a 4 hour high, new 4 hour high. So I'll drop back down to the 15. So what we can that's pretty much the rule. Obviously, I've covered the rules of structure. So obviously, when we're trying to find and determine what the highs and the lows are, obviously the pullback, the lowest in a. I'll go to the bullish structures. It's easier for me to word. So in bearish conditions, obviously the pullback is the furthest candle after a new high is made, new low is made, sorry. Furthest pullback point after a new low is made, and then it's the opposite for bullish structures. So the pullback is classed as the lowest candle before a new high is made and obviously previous taken. And that them structures are valid until the highs and the lows are taken. So
These rules, because they're so simple, I used to dick about for hours
yeah,
drawing squiggly lines going, is that there? Is that up? Or is it going up? Or is it down?
yeah,
You go, I know, it's either broken it or it hasn't. It's
yeah,
great.
yeah. I know. I mean, this is fairly easy structure. Apart from this little bit that we spoke about earlier, if I'll just jump to GBP CAD. So I did ask in the group on Saturday. GBP CAD is very difficult for me to read. So I've got multiple drawings on mine because I am unsure, and I'll tell you why. So obviously I'm on the 4 hour. We've got bullish structures. There's a couple of areas where I go, that might be a pullback, it might not be. So, but if my rules, if I stick to my rules to a T and I don't break them, like this is just one structure. So this is a
Yeah.
massive, maybe well from here maybe. So this is
Oh, I
a
looked
low.
at this the other day myself. Yeah, I thought, well,
Yeah,
I couldn't
yeah,
get around it. I go, well, it is. It's pretty clear.
yeah. It's. Oh, I'll just move that. I didn't want to do that. I'll resort that. Yeah, because of this. I mean, this is one structure for me. There's barely any
Yeah.
pullbacks. There's a couple of corrections. There's a impulsive push up here. It corrects itself. I don't class that as a structure. That's yeah. I always struggle with explaining a price correction. So what I think a price correction is just something happens like this, possibly a news release or something like that. Maybe, well, let's just say it's an unexpected news release. Price has rocketed, and it's come back just to sort itself out. This wasn't meant to happen, or something like that. That's what I consider a price correction. This is clearly heading in a direction here. That's what I class as a valid structure pullback. So take from that what you will. I mean, this would maybe be classed as a 15-minute structure, I guess, depending on what it
Because
was like on the time.
you can draw a straight line from that low to that high,
Yeah, because
really.
this is
Yeah.
all clearly heading in that direction.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm really struggling with GJ. I mean, there's still nice trades to be found and had. It's just from a structure perspective, I can't post this and go, right, this is a valid low, this is a valid high, because it's just awful. So what I've sort of done is I've gone, right, I'm cutting off from here. Anything left of that is I'm just going to ignore for now and just focus on this side of price action. So yeah, like while I say me rules are valid until they're done, it's maybe sometimes worth just going, this just invalidates everything. So just pick a point that where it
Oh, yeah.
starts making sense a bit,
It's
and then
basically just a reset, isn't
yeah. So,
it?
but because of me uncertainty with some of these pullbacks as well, this is why I've got a couple of different structures drawn. So I'll change that color. I'll do that one orange, and I will turn it deep. So if obviously from that point where I've just gone right reset, just do it from that point. Obviously, we've got a push up, pull back. Obviously, that is a valid pullback. This mitigates it along here. It's not broken. This is the high in that. This is the high. This is the low. So maybe the orange is possibly the structure, and we've just mitigated something really low in here. This was the bottom of the market. We might go on to make a new. Click on it. We might go on to make a new higher structure. If these are these little ones in between, if these are valid structures, then we've got bullish push, a pullback, so we get 3 or 4 swings of bearish, and then we start getting some more bullish price action swings as well. So yeah, I can't decide whether it's on this occasion. Obviously, it's pink or orange. I don't know. It's just difficult. I think orange is more correct, but the swings are so big. It makes me it just makes me question it. But I do think overall I do think it is bullish anyway, because regardless of however I do it, we are bullish structures and we're mitigating both points where I would class them as valid lows. I'm fairly certain this is a valid low and this is a valid structure there. Whether that's a high and that's a low is what's confusing me the most. So yeah, GJ is just a bit of a mess, but I do think we are bullish. But depending on the structure, depends on if it's the purple, we've possibly just taken I think we've just taken the high there. See the difference it makes to me is this has just taken this high if it's the purple structure. So are we now going to see a decent pullback into somewhere deep in there, say, and then continue to upside? If it's the orange, chances are we might just trend upwards and not get that big deep pullback. But obviously we can only trade what's in front of us as well. So, and that's what I mean when I say what's in front of us. So obviously I was looking at buys on this last week. Me and George both took a loss. Obviously our entry became part of a trend line. Didn't spoil at the time. It's fine. It's since possibly created more trend lines, sweeps, maybe a break to the other side, and that was maybe the entry. I don't think I'd have picked it. I can't remember now, but yeah. Obviously the structure is telling me that if it's purple, this is maybe the bottom 25% ish it's hit, and we've possibly just had a break. So maybe it's going to continue with a new high from there. It might not. Obviously, it could do whatever it wants, but so I'll get back to this one just for purpose of what I was saying. So, in using structure as a very important tool for us to determine what's possibly coming up or where we are possibly going. So, this might sound really obvious, but I just want to make sure that we are. Obviously, I've got to say out loud, I guess, is probably the best thing for me to say. So when we're trending one way or the other, we can almost anticipate that if we're downtrending, we can anticipate that we are going to mitigate high up in previous highs. Obviously, all these here, if I draw a box on all of these from the highs to the lows, pulls back this, obviously from this high to this low, pulls back into I mean, that's about 80% retracement. So if I then move that to the next structure from this high to this low, again, it pulls back. So this is the valid pullback here. So 75, 80% again. Like I say, and then obviously we get a big trend line build up, a sweep, and a breaker structure. So we would always. I would also be looking for a possible mitigation here, but that depends on the previous what's going on down here. So if I didn't see, I mean, on the 15, nothing in here looks particularly good, lower than this orange box. Obviously, it's hit the orange box because this orange box is the cause of this. No, sorry, this high being taken. leads to this high being taken. So this possible cause of a 15-minute break on this sort of structure going on here. I've just not got it marked. And if there's nothing of interest below that, then we can maybe start to think, because we're looking at maybe 4 hours. The 4 hours possibly going to put a new low in here, and we are maybe heading for a new 4 hour high. Once price has tagged what we think is possibly maybe the low point of the market, we can then obviously just mark a point of interest, see there'll be an imbalance in there that this is tapped into. We can then maybe anticipate a break to the upside. So obviously, if you'd have caught from this sweep a break, if there's a 1 minute break in here, then obviously we could maybe say, I would always advise that you would take the take profit up to the mitigation of the somewhere in the high. So somewhere in this top 75%, ideally, it could be the 50%, but it might be generally I'm aiming for the 75, because that's what I would aim for the sell if I was trying to get in the sell. But obviously, if I was trying to catch this sell, I'd be looking for liquidity being made in here. So if let's, for example, say that's a trend line, that's possibly a sweep. Obviously, it breaks here and mitigates it there, so that's possibly one entry. But if a setup happened high up in this sort of like leg being created, so if we create liquidity along here or something like that, I'd be then waiting for a sweep. I won't want it to break. I'd wait for a 1 minute break to downside before getting in, because, like I say, we are possibly bottom of the market there and waiting for a break to the upside. Yeah, cheers, Mark, mate. So obviously, structure can tell us. Just to recap, structure can tell us whether we would possibly be aiming for a mitigation of a structure point or a possible break. And with price breaking previous highs or lows or whatever way the market's going, we can also possibly find trades in and around sort of like, because the pullbacks can be from 50%, we can also possibly find trades from around the 50% area.
Lee,
Yes, mate.
were there any clues that that push up was going to be the one where the change of character happened?
This one
It's
here.
like, yeah, so you see your blue trend line there.
Yeah.
Could have taken that as a sell.
Yeah.
And got unlucky because
Yeah.
it could have just been a little sweep. Is there anything you could have told that was telling you maybe that was going to carry on up and make a new high, or was it not? Is it just not going to draw?
Yeah. So.
Do you understand my question? Yeah.
Yeah, I do, mate. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sometimes you get it wrong. That happens. Yeah. I mean, so,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We all get it wrong, but
yeah.
I do believe there's always telltale signs. So
Yeah.
we just don't spot them.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm assuming, mate, that there is. Let me put my. I'm assuming there's maybe a trend line in here that's, once this is swept,
Right.
that it's more than likely going to take us beyond. So if we was,
because actually there wasn't even a nice entry on that sweep, was there? It had already it already made the new high.
Yeah.
Before there was an entry.
Yes. Yeah. So
that's interesting.
So this is what I'm saying though as well. Because this high takes this previous high, so this is bearish. I think it's important, and I'm hopefully not going to stutter with my words on this. So bearish price action. Once bullish price action, so anything left of the center of my screen is bearish. Anything right is bullish price action, because we've started making new high highs. Up until obviously it comes back down again. So because this has taken a previous structure high, a bearish high, we're very often, and obviously you're always all welcome to go and test this, we actually often usually mitigate high into the next previous high for the pullback.
Right.
So but yeah, because it's taken the previous structure high, so it's because bullish price has taken the bearish structure high. Sorry, I forgot what the question was, mate.
I was talking about how
Oh,
I could have taken a trade off that trend line
yeah,
before it had made a new
yeah,
high.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Because
yeah,
generally we'd be looking for a sell at that point.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
was just saying, were there any clues that that wasn't a good time to take a sell, or it's just one of those times when you're
yeah,
unlucky?
yeah. I mean, I would say you're unlucky because obviously we never fully know. So
Yeah, too right. Quite right. I mean, you can't.
yeah. So obviously this entry I've got marked here is from that's the entry from this trend line being taken, and
Yeah,
it's fortunate enough that it does take the previous high, and also obviously I know it's not I know this isn't perfect, but there's like I said there will be a telltale sign we just haven't spotted it.
yeah, all right. Yeah, that's cool.
So that
Well,
look
there
pretty
wasn't
good.
a good entry, as we said a minute ago, anyway, so it wouldn't have
Yeah,
mattered with that one because you wouldn't have got your entry. But
no,
yeah,
but I am assuming that there's a nice trend line somewhere,
yeah,
and
okay.
it's possibly from. Let me spin that around. Uh, it might be slightly off, but
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. You know.
there might be something there in say the 5 minute that
Yeah,
wick
cool.
there. So
Yeah,
there's very much possibly a signal that where you would go. Let's say if you'd have caught an entry from this low here or whatever, and you're going right, it's this is bearish. Let's say from there, obviously it's bearish structures here, so you'd be well within your rights to go. There's a possibility that I might get a trade as a sell from in here, obviously because this would be the live structure. It's creating a new low, so I fully understand why you'd go right. Let me look in there for something to
yeah,
you know, and then I don't even know if we get a 1 minute structure break, which is why I would always say obviously we wait for 1 minute. I don't know if we get it, mate. I'll just play a few candles.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, we'll see. We don't get it, so we get. This is
Yeah,
why I
so it would
always
have been no entry
say
anyway.
yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, I know it's not perfect, but I'm assuming this is about the 1 minute structure. We get a mitigation of the low. This one here mitigates it, and then we take the high, which sweeps the possible liquidity, and then we start breaking to the downside. So we, because it didn't give us the sell signal before this high was taken, you wouldn't have took a sell because your rules haven't been met. I would hope,
yeah,
obviously. Um, obviously it takes the high, taps into the next high, which is obviously what I was trying to explain earlier. When it does break, so obviously this low here is a pivot point. This is the lowest point before the bullish price action starts, like before the high is taken. The next one across is often what gets mitigated. So that is definitely worth a look at. Um, I'm assuming just delete that because obviously that was for the current markup. But because liquidity has been taken, we've possibly now had a 1 minute break structure. There's an entry here, I'm sure. Um, I don't even know if I'm going to bother looking. Maybe something there. Just a glance at the 1 minute. Um, I'm not gonna bother with whatever it is. I'll play a few candles, see if we get it. But as let's be generous and give it that low still. That's a 1 minute break, maybe even under here if we want to be really skeptical and overcautious. Obviously, there's no. I would always advise to be overly cautious on your breaks of structure. Um, purely, but from a 15-minute perspective, I'm not sure this is a pullback as such. So I'd be saying this is a safer low. Obviously, sometimes we won't get it before the trade plays out, so it's your own discretion to decide. Yeah, it would have been this one, but it pulls back into something here, so lower than what I thought, but what I want focused on what was actually being tapped into. So I'll have a quick look. But I think what we can take from it is that there is the market is sort of telling us at times what it's going to do or what it wants to do and where it wants to go. Just yeah, look at that imbalance there. Probably mark it to that. That would be about my entry if I'd have seen that. If there's nothing, I mean, there's stuff higher as well, but it's filled this imbalance push down here. So to the dot by the looks of it, that would be the imbalance. Imbalance there. I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have even tagged you in. It's that perfect. So yeah, they've definitely missed that, I think. But cancel that. Yeah, no, let's return. It takes it all. Yeah, it takes it. Takes it. We get a little pullback from Summit, maybe the zone I had marked before. But yeah, obviously from a just as a structure perspective, structures we on a structure perspective, we're either going to continue the trend or break, and then obviously or mitigate. They're the sort of the two options, and then I would say we throw in liquidity as a added clue to help us maybe decide. So things like here. So obviously here we're making, so from here we're making bullish structures. There's a mitigation here, but there's a creation of liquidity here at some point, which drives us down. There's equal lows possibly there as well. So when we add liquidity into the structure, it helps us possibly decide where we would want to, obviously where it might go, and then obviously from that we can maybe set our orders, pending trades as to sort of suit what that might happen, if that makes sense. Right, I'm going to move away from that, guys, unless there's any more questions on
that. Sorry, Lee, just see on a fairly trivial trading view question,
that.
that markup that you pulled out that showed like the top and bottom 25%,
Yes, mate. Yeah.
is that like when I'm looking on my trading view,
Yeah.
that's marked as a GAN box,
Yeah, that's right.
and when I pull one out, it looks all sorts of crazy colors. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like what you've got.
So if you draw it out, mate, and then go
Yeah,
to the settings button,
yeah.
you can change colors,
Ah, right, got you.
set your percentages. Obviously you can add labels and things like that, and obviously you can set the color
Yeah, yeah,
depths and
cool.
things
Okay,
like that, mate. All right.
sounds good.
Yeah.
And
No.
and generally, you're using that to kind of mark out where your top or bottom 25% is for.
Well, I don't use it, mate. So
Okay,
I use it purely to show you guys
got you.
of, I mean, because we can all. Oh, let me just find another random chart. Hey, you. If you if obviously I've got the structure drawings on here, but you can sort of
Mm.
tell if so from here obviously it's trending upwards. Say if we follow this red line,
Mhm.
if you can sort of tell that roughly this sort of area here
Yeah.
is the bottom 25% roughly of this structure here. It's the bottom. It's yeah, it's just the bottom bit, mate. So,
Mhm.
but I always say like the deeper. So because this is bullish, and obviously we can see it's bullish and it plays out bullish after this point. As long as you're not expecting price to come lower than this overall low there,
Mhm.
so I always prefer the deeper the pullback, and obviously I think we've got a trend line there as well. Um, so this is a sweep. So the deeper it pulls back into the live structure, the better because there's less chance of. So let me try and let me word this correct. So the deeper this pulls back into this structure,
Yep.
it does, the better for me, as long as we're anticipating it's continue bullish,
Mhm.
because there's less imbalance, less liquidity, and less targets for the market to come lower than what my possible entry would be.
Yeah. Got you.
So if we've got, let's say, in all of this leg price as it pushes up, there's maybe 5, 10, 15 imbalances that would catch my interest. Maybe I'm
Mhm.
just I'm making that number up. I don't actually know, but
Yep.
just for as an easy example, let's say there's 10 areas in this whole push up that I go, I'd maybe buy from there as long as I see what I want.
Mhm.
The the more price pulls back, the more of them would get knocked out. And if I had this bottom area marked, and I go, this is the last point in here where I would want to buy from. If it takes it out, obviously I would anticipate we're just going lower, and I got it wrong or whatever. Um,
Okay.
this is why I say though that the middle 50% is the danger zone because there might be great targets below still,
Yeah.
which is why I always recommend the bottom 25%. It's not a fixed rule. It's just as a you're less likely to get taken out because it might have because there's possible
Yeah.
more targets lower down in a bullish
Yeah.
price action. So
It also means your trade's got further to run, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, this pulls back so far into this one,
It's got long potential, long way to
it's got
go.
favour to take the high, so
Yeah,
it's effectively giving you more pips
yeah,
and a less dangerous entry. So obviously, I've got
yeah.
this green box here. I think this was from a live session or maybe a back testing session. Um, there's a valid trade from there. Obviously, if there's a trend line across here or wherever it is, that's a sweep. There's a break above here. That's obviously there's an imbalance just above that. It does tap it. It goes, does its thing, but it comes out and takes it because there's something
Mhm.
lower. So if I could have easily said that if that was the valid trade, maybe there's a buy from there. But because there's targets below still, that made
Mhm.
this a very more risky buy
Yeah.
area as such. So
Yep.
yeah, I prefer deeper pullbacks. It's
It's
just
not
safe.
like
It's just
there's
safe.
what did I put the other day? There's plenty of charts. If one chart's not right, then move
Yeah,
on to the next chart.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Absolutely,
the
mate.
one you were showing us the other day. You shown us earlier with the difficult structure.
Yeah,
If the structure is difficult,
yeah. You move
go
on.
and find someone where the structure's not so
Yeah, yeah,
difficult.
yeah, yeah. And I think I can't remember what chart it was, but when I posted a structure formation of 3 maybe 4 weeks ago now, and I basically said like there'll be trades in and around all of these like highs and lows, and obviously as the structure follows, and even just a glance at a chart, there's a trend line here, there's a sweep, a break to the underside somewhere, mitigation, so there's a trade possibly in that high. Obviously, there's a trend line under here, sweep, comes back, mitigates two things. So there's a good trade from both of these, obviously. There's a trend line here, sweep, a break to the upside, mitigation of that area, a major buy. Most of the high, high and good quality setups tend to be from these major pivot points.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, this is what I'm saying Uh, Obviously, red's my 4 hour. I'm not sure I'm classing this as a 4 hour structure. It's possibly 15, and the orange is the 1 or 5. So obviously there'll be different trades and entries depending on what structure and time frame you're looking at. The same rules apply. It's just but the trades tend to the good valid ones for the ones that I'm obviously marking up are generally, like I say, they generally come from around in and around these good pivot points.
Mm.
This
It's where your bangers are. The ones where you get double
yeah,
digit, triple
yeah,
digit
yeah,
trades
yeah,
because they've
yeah,
got a long
yeah,
way to go. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So even if you look at this one, like this, obviously this major structure here, I mean, I'll class that as possibly a 4 hour structure, definitely. This pulls so far back into it.
Mm.
It's I think
Then
that
you
might
get yes. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's got to literally have mitigated the only imbalance left in this
Mm.
whole leg here. It's created a trend line. It's broken on the 1 minute above in that. So high, obviously creation of liquidity there. High sweep, break of the 1 minute high, comes back, mitigates whatever's in here. And then obviously it's gone on to create a 15-minute break from there. It's obviously mitigated something in the 4 hour high price, whatever. Yeah, it's up
Do you
there
put
again. So,
do you put alerts on those lows on those pivot points, Lee?
not really. I'm not. I'm quite active with my charts, so I generally, if I would when price gets nearby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be zooming out. But like I say, from I mean, this was from I missed this. I think it played out in the night actually. Yeah, this one played out in the night. It broke. I think I went to bed before it broke the high. So it played out in the night, and I was in bed. It is what it is. But I mean, I don't think I'd have held that long because this would have been agony, I guess, especially after that sort of push up. Um, and I didn't take this. I had this marked. This is a purple's my BPR price action, so my entry would have been the possibly other side of that BPR, which as we see, it's done that. It also gave a 1 minute break and a retest in here as well. A mini one. It would have been aggressive, but there's probably a trend line in there that I've just not marked up or seen.
And with the depth of the mitigation into the kind of structure, would that impact how long you would hold the trade? Like in
Uh,
terms of trying to maximize the gain out of it?
yeah. So, um, yeah, this might be a little bit confusing for me to
Go for it. I'm confused
make.
most of the time anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
just
it,
add another layer on it.
yeah, yeah. So it's what I was. So if we focus on this trend line here, I've just gone over the 1 minute break structure. Obviously, it's swept the 1 minute break. It's mitigated that, and then it's fucked off and done its thing, right?
Yep, yep.
So obviously, I said previously that once. So this red structure is my what I'm saying is 4 hour. Orange is my
Mm-hmm.
15. So what it's done is it's made a low. It's done its job in the very low in the previous 4 hour structure. So it can't go any lower unless it's going to turn bearish on the 4 hour.
Yep.
So it's given this trade here entry by here. It's then broken the 15. So after the 15, I would expect it to mitigate something
Mm-hmm.
because I'm expecting it to pull back and then continue on its 15-minute structure high. Because obviously the 4 hours, the 4 hours going to change structure every. I mean, it could be monthly, it could be a couple of weeks. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
so from this high here, and this is just to mitigate the previous order block or whatever. That seems too much. That took 5 days just to mitigate. So that's just classed as the pullback. That's 5 days.
Yep.
Obviously other pairs will be longer, but that's the 4 hour. So the 15 is going to change more often than the 15 is going to be created quicker than the 4 hour. So what it's done here is it's took the 15 minute. So I was expecting it to obviously mitigate something, pull back, and then continue its 15 minute structure
Mhm.
to the upside. Now, obviously, it tagged into what I thought it was going to. It's come back a smidge lower late on a Friday. Didn't take it. It is what it is. But I'm expecting that this is going to actually take the high possibly, and if it don't, obviously, then if there's a sell from in here, I would then expect it's going to actually take this 4 hour low because it's taken everything from this low.
Mhm.
But because it's taken a 15 minute high, I was expecting a pullback. So 15 minute highs, 4 hour highs or lows that get taken are points that once they're taken, I would expect a pullback because this order blocks in here. Obviously, it broke the 1 minute, gave an entry. It's broke the 15, it's given entry. If it goes on and takes the 4, I would also expect a decent pullback into something that causes the 4 hour to be taken. So let's say it goes from here on the 4 hour, takes this high here.
Mhm.
I would expect it to come back and then mitigate something in there. And then inside of all this is what would be 15 with a little zigzags. Obviously, if we zoom out, it's the 4 hour. It will zigzag down on the 15 till it mitigates something, and then it will start zigzagging up and go beyond the 15 again on the 15 and create a new 4 hour high. So this is so if we focus on this sort of section here, I'll draw a circle around it. Right, so maybe a bit wide actually, but this 4 hour structure here.
Yep.
So we create a low on the 15, create a new break to the upside on the 15, break up there, pull back, new high, pull back, new high, pull back, new high. That's a 4 hour. That basically the zigzag, the bullish zigzag on the 15 is pretty much what I'm classing as my 4 hour leg.
Yep.
And then obviously we start zigzagging down on the 15. We don't break the 4 hour low, but it's the zigzag on the 15 down. That's a 4 hour leg. So
Mhm.
what I would say is I'm expecting a zigzag on the 15 to possibly take us higher. Obviously, all this is internal, and
Yep.
it's unfortunate that it's happened taken so long. But that's a 15 minute low, that's a 15 minute high. If this does take obviously this high, then this will become the 15 minute low. I'm expecting a 15 minute zigzag up. After it takes the 4 hour high, again, it will zigzag down 3, 4, 5 swings possibly, and then, but it won't take, I wouldn't expect it to take this low or this low, depending on what happens afterwards. But, but yeah, basically, the zigzags, the orange zigzags inside of this red line is the two structures running simultaneously.
Mhm.
And then you can take it one step further and you could say inside these oranges, I'll just zoom in a touch. Inside these in orange zigzags, we get even tighter zigzags like this, which is what I would probably class as 1 minute structures. But
Yep.
so I don't even know if you'll be able to see that, but I'll do it something like that. It's obviously not perfectly correct because I don't know. I would actually drop to the 1 or the 5 to draw them properly.
Mhm.
But the principle is that so we're going to get different opportunities depending on where each time frame is at. So if we bought from this 4 hour low, great opportunity. We would then from here, we'd wait for a 1 minute to break before we can get in. If we breaks the 15 minute, we get another opportunity. If it breaks the 4 hour, it's going to pull back. We get another opportunity. So ideally, you would have obviously on this, all these have got if all these buys from low in these structures, they all mitigate low in the previous 4 hour. If you can then once it breaks the 1 minute low down in the 4 hour structure, that's the first what I would class as the most aggressive entry. Um, Obviously, then when it breaks the 15 minute, assuming it does, it will pull back. You can then get another opportunity. You would still wait for it to break the 1 minute, and then once it breaks the 1 minute, it's going to mitigate something. Yeah, so you get multiple opportunities depending on where the market's at. So, but it's so hard for me to wade. But
No, that all kind of made sense. It was just
yeah,
kind of freaking me out slightly because usually it doesn't all make sense, but no, that's good.
yeah. I mean, obviously, I hope it does. And in my to me, it makes sense. But I know I'm saying words wrong sometimes, which probably confuses it a bit. But yeah, I mean, like this. All I can say is like this first cell here that I've got marked up. That's the first most aggressive entry because that's the lowest point. But it's only got a 1 minute breaker structure. We've now had a 15 minute. We've now had a trend line sweep, possible mitigation or whatever. Maybe this is another sweep, and then a mitigation's that one there. That's the second opportunity because it's broken the 15. And I'm assuming once it breaks up here, we will get another opportunity. But obviously, the further it goes on, after once it say breaks the 4 and comes back to mitigate something and gives a 1 minute or then another 15 minute, you get another opportunity after that once it breaks 15 again. But we then go back to once you've had all them opportunities. So after it breaks the 15 minute again and the next two trade opportunities that are coming up, we're going to be getting high up into. So this is what I mean when I say knowing where we are in the market. We've had a few bullish 4 hour structures. Are we going to start seeing? Because I only work on say the 1 minute, the 15 minute, and the 4 hour. There's actually like daily structures and weekly structures.
Yeah.
So if we have say 4 or 5 swings on the 4 hour, are we gonna get 3 or 4 swings on bullish price action? Because we'll be making the structures of we'll be starting to get to. I mean, because this looks very very bearish overall. This is a huge pullback. It's
Mhm.
so if we get a couple more 4 hour swings with bullish price action, probably start assuming that we're going to start seeing major pullbacks because maybe this is the actual like daily structure. So we've got a high way up there. I'm just going to put it there for now. A new overall low. A couple more
Yeah.
4 hour swings might take it to there, and then we might start seeing. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, we can possibly maybe
Yeah,
start
no, I get
seeing
it.
new lower lows. So this is what I mean by about knowing where you are. If we've had 4 or 5 swings on the 4 hour, we can maybe start thinking maybe the daily structure is coming into play, and that might be different to what the 4 hours doing.
Okay.
So the higher the time frame structure, the more weight it holds. So if this pulls back up into like these sort of zones, or even up here, and then we start getting 1 minute breaks up here to the downside, 15 minute breaks to the downside, 4 hour starts following suit, then we can catch major moves because all the time frames are aligning.
Hmm.
So just by looking at this, I would say like the daily is bearish, but it's pulling back hard. This is a pullback on say the daily.
Yeah.
4 hours bullish because it's trending upwards. The 15 minutes just turned bullish, and then obviously once the 4 hour once it takes this high again, obviously it's the 4 hours. The 4 hours also bullish, but the daily is bearish. So we're going to trend up until we get the daily 4 hour, 15, and the 1 minute all in the same direction, which is the move we were all dreaming to sort of catch.
Yeah.
And I can show you a good example on USD CHF. Um, let me. This is a great example of using multiple structures to try and catch major moves. So obviously the blue is the daily structure, and then obviously the red is my 4 hour. So we're downtrending on the 4, we're downtrending on the daily, and inside these we start getting 15-minute breaks, and then the 1 minute lines up, and then we get, once it actually takes the overall sort of like new lower low, I can't remember. I think I missed this one. I had it on my radar, but I think I missed it. I definitely missed it. But because we'd pulled so hard back into this high, and other high time frame structures was the same direction, I knew that there was something major possibly coming from this area. As long as we didn't obviously take the high. Like I say, I was anticipating a new lower low, and it's did 1100 pips. So, and I believe there was a nice little entry as well. Yeah, nice little entry there. Obviously, whether I'd have had the balls to hold it or not, I don't think I would have by a long shot. But it's just obviously this move. I know that's 1500 pips. As a swing trader, that might be what someone's trying to catch as a daily move. But whether that, if obviously that time frame was on the daily, that could have been the 5 minute. The structure's the same. The rules are the same. I'm still expecting it to follow structure to a large degree. So if whether that was say 20 pips or 1100 pips, I'm still expecting the same sort of thing because it's mitigated high up in the previous structure. It's shown signs of generated liquidity. It swept it. It started breaking to the downside. You know, so and what entry did it give? That one. Be generous. Let's say 9 pips. Give a 9 pip. So I don't think I definitely wouldn't have held it to the bottom, but
So what, 120 RR?
Yeah, if not more, mate. Yeah, 127. But I don't even think that would have been a 9 pip entry for me. It would have been maybe a touch tighter. I've just been overly generous for the sake of, yeah, I'd have been about 6, maybe 7 in reality. So nearly 200 R, I guess. Just from looking at a bit of structure,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 4 hours. The 4 hour pullback was deep. The daily's what 50%, bit risky on the daily if she was willing to hold because it could have come deeper still. But yeah, everything was presented. So obviously that was my 4-15-1 strategy that was
Mm-hmm.
actually that had actually played out. But the rules for structure are still the same. It's just this was a long play out. You know, we still got a trend line and a sweep in there somewhere. We still mitigated high into the previous structure, and I was still anticipating a new lower low because that's what the structure is on multiple time frames. The 15-minute lined up, the break there before it actually tags the entry. So see this little wick low here and there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 50. See a little orange zigzag here. So there's a pullback, creates a high, breaks the 15. So that's the daily, the 4, and then the 15 with this break. It then obviously tags what would have been an entry, and then it obviously breaks 1 minute as well. Maybe the second entry here would have been after it breaks the 1 minute again. and then that would have tagged another entry, and then obviously sells off. So there's different points after different structure time frame breaks. There's different possible entries. um, yeah, that's about it, guys. Really, I was actually wanted to
Thank
get to Mac.
you.
I actually wanted to get some Max and charts tonight,
It doesn't matter, right?
but yeah, I mean that's if you can focus on that, if you focus on working out structures and things, you can. It's a very important part, which is why I've been sort of like trying to drill it for the last couple of weeks because obviously people post charts even in like the FVG chat. I'm like, well, why are you trying to buy from there? I think I'll call George out for this only because he posted something in the week, and it basically was. I think it took a lot. I can't remember what it was, but I looked at the chart and I was like, well, oh, it was gold. He had a buy on gold, but he was trying to buy from pretty much the 15-minute structure high.
Mm.
And I looked at it. I was like, well, if you'd have figured the structure out, let me see if I can find it. It was, I think he'd tried selling it from, no, yeah, I think he tried buying it from like say here, this little pull up here. So I think I was expecting it to take the high. It was just where it was just a bad place to buy from, I think.
Mm.
But yeah, I remember looking and going, well, you're trying to buy from, because I think he was trying to take it like, maybe looking at it.
He sometimes likes really tight trend lines.
Yeah, yeah,
On the 15, I've seen him link two or three almost
yeah,
consecutive candles. So he
yeah,
might have seen a trend line there, yeah, and a
yeah.
continuation of
But
that
like I said,
tiny little one.
I just remember looking and going, I don't think it was Thursday. It might have been might have been somewhere else anyway. But yeah, I remember looking at the chart and just going, I had a look over and go, well, I am expecting. I'm sure it was around here. I am expecting it to take this high, but you're also trying to buy pretty much at the top of the market. So once it's taken this, obviously, I'd be anticipating a pullback. So it's definitely one that I would say, even if he got it, even if he got the buy right and it went into profit and was was taking the high, I'd be like, well, you don't really want to be holding it because we should be getting a pullback at some point, you know.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think it was this one here actually. He was trying to buy it
cool.
from here.
I'll have to watch this again tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a lot of information in that to be fair, but I mean,
Yeah, the last half hour, I've got lose concentration. I've got to rewind it tomorrow and watch it again.
yeah. Well, I'll get it uploaded straight away anyway, and just as a quick recap,
Thank you.
once we take a high or once we get a break structure, we can sort of anticipate a pullback. Um, we can expect obviously to find trades from the order blocks that cause the pullbacks, which is what we use as an entry model as well. Um, yeah, just obviously we can try and use it to our advantage of trying to find the best setups. So obviously we try and avoid taking trades from the middle of the range, the structure legs.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's where it is. Obviously it depends what presents itself, but we can use multiple confirmations to go, yeah, it's a decent area to take the trade from, or it's not, or maybe we wouldn't hold it as long if that's what we're sort of planning. But the signs are all there, so it's just we struggle to read it sometimes, I guess. And I fully understand it's not easy. But I called a new all-time high from this low here. So just basically off a
cool.
structure point. So because I knew I had it marked. Obviously there's a nice imbalance in here. this yellow line. It tapped it pretty much to the dot. This was the cause
That
of
took that took the previous high.
that
Yeah,
took the
that took that.
previous high,
Yeah,
so it's mitigated
yeah.
that. We are very bullish. It's a decent enough pullback. It's just beyond the 50%. It's that order block caused the high. It's done that. It's shown signs of breaking to the upside. It's given multiple opportunities to get in, not ones that I've taken, but it's created liquidity. Trend line there. There's probably more. So yeah, decent pullback on the 4 hour into something that we liked. Possible new high.
Right. So looking for a zone that caused the previous higher low to
Yeah,
be taken is a good
yeah,
place to look. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Don't know why I wasn't doing that 6 months ago, but never mind. Um, yeah. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah. And obviously, like I say, there's multiple time frame structures. So
Yeah.
as a general rule of thumb, like a 15-minute structure, 15-minute trend, let's say, is generally what I would be classing as my 4 hour leg.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously it's the same for the 15. So the 1 minute trend will create a 50 will be say like a 15-minute. No, a 1 minute bullish trend will be like a 15-minute bullish leg overall. So once it turns on the 1 minute,
Yeah.
you know, overall it'll start the 15-minute pullback or whatever.
Cool.
Well, I'll leave it there, guys, because that's a lot of
Awesome.
information, and I'll get it uploaded and speak to you guys in the chat.
Thank you, Lee.
Brilliant.
Appreciate it.
No, that's
Cheers,
really good, Lee.
guys.
Thanks, man.
Cheers, boys. Catch you a bit.
Okay, gotcha.